Are you ready for our bullish talk show? We got guests for days, all queuing in a row. The biggest names in the DeFi space. Black, white and yellow, guests from every race. So hands off your dick, cause now you're in love. We're talking crypto daily with a big pump dog. Big duck energy, let's make banks fast. Come chill with us here on the Pondcast.
Yo, 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 what's going on, all you degenerate ducks out there? Absolutely exciting stuff coming here today. We've got UKCrypto Queen out here on the Pondcast today. Absolutely exciting stuff. Super happy once again to have an amazing influencer here in the space. Very prominent in the meme coin community. Absolute chatette of a person. Really excited to have you here today, UKCrypto Queen.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. What lovely words. Thank you very much. Looking forward to talking a bit more at length, because I know that we've met previously, but nice to be able to have a bit of time to really get to know each other.
Yes, no, I know exactly well. So obviously my name is Easy Zabo. I am the Doug the Duck speaker, and you and I have been really interacting kind of on crypto Twitter for probably the better half of the last year. I mean, we kind of came up together in the Bonk community as well as in the Myro community, and I've always seen you out here in the spaces as one of the more intelligent females that is in the crypto space. So obviously really excited to have you here. And I think you and I, whenever we chat on spaces and stuff, you and I have really great interactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting, isn't it, how we all kind of move around through the spaces into different projects. We kind of weave around. I always feel like the good people always find their way back to me, and I always find my way back to them. I just feel like it's all that energy that we're emitting, and we just somehow end up in the good projects together. And I just really believe in that, which I know we're going to get into a bit later on.
Yeah, that magnetism, right? It's a beautiful thing. Energy, right? Now I don't know how much of a good person you are, because you got the devil horns going on all your profiles right now. Is that just a Halloween thing, or are you really this devious?
Do you know what? It's so funny, actually, because I've had so many interesting conversations in spaces. I have literally been winding everybody up, with kind of, what is it? What's the story? Why did she do it? And it's actually quite interesting. But I was actually in a project which is going to relaunch, hasn't relaunched yet, but is about to relaunch. And I actually I had the halo and glow because I was in that project. And actually, you know what? I really want to tell you that there was some kind of strategic move, or that it was a Halloween thing, or, the reality is what was happening was I kept getting people creating memes, the animated memes or the drawing memes. And whilst it's always very flattering to get those, it was just really always amusing to me how people kind of drew me. And I was thinking myself, do I change my PFP, or do I just make it easier? Like the halo, people weren't able to kind of clip my head and put it onto things. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go back to good old me. And then I may even think about changing it to an NFT. I've given that some thought as well. I really don't know. But the reality is it was pure vanity. I'd love to say there was a strategy behind it, but it was pure vanity.
Hey, that's the secret, right? You got to advertise your own PFP, make it into an NFT, and hopefully if you become popular enough as an influencer, somebody will essentially buy out your face, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything can happen in this space, right?
I think I always had that. I always had a little bit of that thought processes as well. It's interesting that we're talking about NFTs, because NFTs are kind of like all the rage in the last crypto cycle. And this cycle, they're just not as hot. So I was thinking, at the bottom of the market, let's call it, back in October, November of last year, right before we really started to absolutely blow up, just from a crypto stance, I was getting into a couple different NFTs, and they just seemed to kind of rug over and over and over. So of course, one of my PFPs on my main Twitter page was one of the NFTs that I got rugged on, and of course, I'm sitting here still hoping that someone's gonna buy that NFT one day.
Yeah, we
Somebody
live in hope.
help me out with my bag. No, but I mean it's an interesting thing. Like every cryptocurrency cycle, there's something new, there's something different that's coming in and making its way into let's call it, I guess, the meta of what's exciting this season. And last year or last cycle rather, it was NFTs, and this cycle, as we know, it's meme coins, right? And
Yeah.
maybe you could kind of speak a little bit to that paradigm change, especially being a meme coin content moderator and spaces manager yourself.
Well, I mean, it changes in this space. A week in crypto is like a year, in any other industry. Things are changing so quickly. And I mean, I've only been in the crypto space. I got in about 22, kind of March, April 22. So it was literally just after the last bull run. So I came in the right in the beginning of the bear market. I missed all that fun, But just in the short time that I've been in the crypto space, there's been so much going on and so many things. We've seen the Solana, meme coins taking off. We've seen pump.fun. We've had, people talking about base. We've had, obviously we know that we're going to be, everyone's talking about meme coin super cycle. And then of course we've got Murad that's just showed up, hasn't just showed up, but has just come to prominence, right? And so everyone's now talking about that. I mean, it's just you literally cannot be away, can you, for like 24 hours?
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, things in the crypto world, they change fast. And it's interesting to hear that you kind of came in towards the latter half or towards the end of the last cycle, right as we're going into the bear cycle. So maybe you can speak towards a little bit of your strategy. Why did you enter the crypto space? Did you come from a previous financial background? And what were you buying in that perpetual down cycle? And
Well,
did you continue to
exactly.
DCA the bottom?
Exactly that. I mean, this is the thing. So, and I think it's good that we're kind of talking about, these things in terms of, where did I come from? Because I think what sometimes happens is people will see me in, doing spaces on Jake Gagan's platform, and they will see me as a speaker on some other, KOLs platforms like Jules, like Soka, some of these guys that are really kind of, on the timeline, really becoming prominent. And they will think, oh, this person kind of, I don't know, they must have been doing this for a long time. And the reality is, I probably haven't been doing this that long, but there's been this whole kind of journey to get to this point. And I think a lot of people miss that because they kind of think that you kind of get this like overnight, like, oh, all of a sudden you're hosting spaces and there's a lot more that goes on. But before I came to X, I mean, I had IRL businesses. And as we've said, I've talked to other people about this, meme projects and crypto projects are just like any other business. They have to be run like a business. And if they're not, then, we have all sorts of problems. And of course, the space isn't regulated yet. So you have this kind of Wild West approach. But my background had IRL businesses, worked in sales, worked in coaching for a number of years, IRL, still do a little bit of that, dip in and out. But I basically left corporate world in about 2016 and I started online businesses then. And I mean, I've always been I kind of don't like using the word entrepreneur because I don't feel that I am an entrepreneur from that point of view, but I'm just someone that's always been interested in making money, always been interested in starting businesses and doing all sorts of different things. So I actually, before I got into crypto, I had been on Facebook and I was actually doing online coaching, online marketing coaching. And I used to run challenges and I used to have kind kind of coaching programs. I did that, all of that. And then I found my way into crypto because someone over in one of my communities introduced me to something, and I didn't really understand it. And I didn't even know how to buy crypto at that point. So someone got on a call with me and showed me how to buy USDT, and showed me how to, set it all up. And that was it. But at that point, I just thought, I really need to learn about this stuff. And so I did come over to,
I think we're periodically losing you just a little bit here and there.
okay, is that better? Do you hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
I
I can hear
think
you
it,
now. I think we're
I
we're
think,
we're missing maybe 2 to 3 seconds here and there. But
you know what? I think it's because my phone keeps going into not reset, onto sleep mode. So I think what I'll do
oh,
is
sure.
just keep moving. I'm just going to keep moving the screen.
Just keep playing with the screen there a little
Keep
bit. No,
moving the screen.
totally understand. Um,
Exactly. So
so
yeah.
essentially,
So
you've been an entrepreneur. I'm going to use the word entrepreneur because it's exactly what you sound like to me. You've essentially, but for better sake of words, you have essentially been self-employed since 2016, working within the digital world as a marketing influencer and a teacher, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have been doing that, and I also have been an Amazon seller. I have done print on demand. I have done content creation. So many things, so many things. So I feel like arriving in crypto now, it just feels like those transferable skills, all of those skills that have kind of, because I didn't really set out. I mean, I know that people have started calling me a KOL or an influencer or whatever. I don't actually think of myself in that way. And I genuinely did not start out to be doing this. It was just something that kind of, I mean, obviously I was showing up every day. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about the things that I get involved in and the people that I meet. And, and I always want to do well, and be a good person, essentially. But it just kind of became a passion, and the more that it was a passion, the more I showed up. And then I don't know, there was a point where it just kind of felt like these opportunities all lined up, and it was a question of, well, I'm either going to go all in or I'm not. And I've only really made the decision to go all in the last couple of months, because someone else said to me, listen, I did this 4 or 5 months ago and it's the best thing I've ever done. And I was like, okay, this is scary, but let's see what happens.
Now I will, and once again I'll say this. I know you don't like the I guess the name KOL or influencer, but because some people in the crypto space do see that as a negative connotation, depending on how you are using your power. But at the end of the day, I think people are gravitated towards you and might be starting to call you a KOL or influencer because you are an influential figure. You're an intelligent figure, and you're somebody who goes on and knows what they're talking about within crypto. You support projects. So in a lot of different ways, people are following you. And, much like they follow you figuratively and physically on crypto Twitter, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear that just in the last 2 to 3 months, you've made this transition to full-time crypto. Um, no, who kind of who was the person that told you like, "Hey, I made this transition and it's been very successful for me," and who really challenged you to make that full-time leap? You are full-time crypto now as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? It was JSP, who I actually think would be another really good guest for you if he isn't on your list already, because that guy, I mean, oh wow. I mean, it was just, you know what? It could have worked out differently, couldn't it? When I say that the stars aligned for me to be working with JSP, and for anyone listening, JSP and I host a morning meme show, which we do on the Jake Gagan platform. He very, he lets us have his platform to run that show, and he supports us, and he really is helping us to kind of develop our own brands around what we're doing. But JSP was the one that kind of said, we had a few conversations about, what the show was going to be like, and that we were going to be working together. And he was just, this is a great opportunity.
I might have lost you there for a second again. No, sorry. You had just got done saying that JSP was a very huge influential figure in moving forward and
Yeah.
having you move forward through the crypto space. And yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah, we'd love to have JSP out here. If you could put in a good word, we'll reach out to him here very shortly. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, these podcasts, it's really about trying to get like we have been meeting with a number of different types of influencers throughout these space and people that are trying to do big things for the space to, you know, in much in the way of a podcast, you know, kind of like how Joe Rogan does it. We're not to the level of Joe Rogan yet, but eventually we'd love to be like understood to be that space where like we're bringing on these influential people in the crypto world and getting to know them a little bit better because at the end of the day as influencers as KOLs here within the traditional crypto space like we're supporting other projects. Our focus is not on ourselves. Our focus is on the projects themselves and pushing the projects and supporting other projects. So for a lot of instances, I'm sure a lot of your own followers, right? They know you through your spaces as a supporter, but they might not necessarily know the core of you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
so you mentioned that you have been working on Jake Gagane's platform, and we've had previous people in here, you know, such as Soka Data, and we've had a lot of correspondence with Nobu. Nobu occasionally hosts some spaces for us as well, and I know that he's on Jake Gagane's platform. Can you maybe give us a little bit of an insight into what Jake is building and how he goes through this process of selecting influencers and managing these spaces?
Well, you know what? It's just I don't know if I can give you that insight because in all honesty, I don't know how this group of people ended up being together. I genuinely do not know how I ended up being in the mix. I will say there was a gentleman called Jules, who you would know as Jules in DeFi. And the funny thing is, like, you know, the way that, you know, in the same way that you and I have connected over a long period of time, Jules and I connected in another project. He does a lot of advisory work, and we had connected. But the funny thing was, we'd only really connected on the timeline. We'd never really spoken. It was just that he started. He came to X only a few months ago, and he started to re-engage and to build his following. And I just was engaging in his content because he's a very, very intelligent man, and I just enjoy listening. You know, I like listening to intelligent people. I think I lost you again for a minute. You know, who have, you know, good stuff to say. So we just started engaging, and then we got on a call, and that was kind of around about. We were just going to host spaces together, but I think he then was like, "Well, I really want to host spaces with you, but maybe we should get some other people too." And then that kind of group kind of grew, and Soka was actually part of that. And a few of us were. Nobu would have been in the group. You know, there were quite a few of us. There's people that are in the Crash community. There's a lady called Sarah, you know, Mel, Crypto G. I'm just trying to think who else was in that original group. But there was a kind of a handful of us that were in these groups, and we tried to support each other with doing spaces. And then around about that time, I started going to the Jake space that JSP was hosting, and JSP didn't actually have a co-host at that point. So I just started going up on speakers and just joining in the conversation. And of course, we're both Brits, so you know we kind of hit it off. And that's kind of how it all ended up, really. And I think it was just that we were all people that were doing similar things at the same sort of time and similar interests, and became kind of one group. So I guess that's as clear as I can think about it in terms of how it happened. And then I think what happened was one day JSP wasn't able to make it. I think he had to cancel at the last minute on the Jake space, and I was invited to co-host. So I just stepped up and co-hosted, and then that was kind of when we started talking with Jake's team. And as I say, they're very, very supportive. You know, they want to mentor us and help us to kind of, you know, get better as spaces hosts. And they are, you know, using their network to get us some good, you know, guests as well. We interviewed HTX, we've interviewed Turbo. We have the flow key people. I mean, there's all, some really great, projects that we've been able to interact with. I mean, I've lost track of the others. There were other big projects that we had and we talked to, but yeah, so it's all been really good experience. And I think it's a lot of the time it is just kind of, I feel a little bit like an imposter sometimes because I feel like I'm not really sure how this happened, but then I guess I kind of do know how it happened because you just show up every day and you just, enjoy what you do, I guess. And I'm sure you feel like that as well, Easy, with the projects that you get involved in. They're just in your heart, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, very few projects that I really get involved with, period. I mean, maybe in the early stages, I was really involved with Myro because it had a very thriving community, and it seems like the devs were really working towards that project. And of course, the developers kind of faded off, and the community with it a little bit, and that community kind of scattered around. But I think everybody kind of remembers who was in that original Myro community because that was kind of one of the first big Myro like community spaces within Twitter as it really started to expand and blow up and everything as well. So now I've committed a lot of my time to helping out the Doug the Duck project because it's one of those few projects that isn't a CTO, that has great meme ability, that still has the original developers and original artists working on the project. So it's very rare to find projects like that have persisted for over 5 to 6 months and have done so above a $1 million market cap. So Doug the Duck was actually a project that I reached out to, that I caught on to very early, bought my own supply, and came on and actually reached out to the developers and said, I want to be a speaker for your project because I believe in the meme ability and I believe in the project and stuff. And a lot of those projects can be very hard to find in the space because perpetually people lose interest when the price goes down, and if you don't have a thriving community kind of built up, it can be very hard to recover from that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I think the thing is that the space is getting more and more crowded. And, as new people flood in, I mean, who knows what is going to happen? None of us knows exactly what is going to happen. But I think certainly for myself, I am definitely revisiting projects that have been around for a while. I mean, it's interesting because I'm seeing projects popping up and I'm thinking, oh, I remember you. I remember you coming and talking to us a few months ago. We haven't seen you for a little while, and then here you are again. And I think that people have been waiting, projects, devs, teams that know what they're doing are just thinking, right, okay, well, we're going to have this sideways action for a little bit longer. Let's just save our gunpowder, let's just save that. They haven't gone anywhere. They've just decided that they're gonna choose their timing, and so I think we are going to see more of this, and I think people will start to become quite disillusioned with the kind of, I mean, there is a place for pump.fun projects. I myself like to go to the casino every now and then. I know that there's a lot more to it. I know some very, very bright people that make a lot of money on pump.fun and know exactly what they're doing. But on the whole, with those projects, unless you get in really early, unless you have that early alpha, you're probably going to get wrecked. And I think probably a lot of people would agree that they've been there.
Can you hear me?
I can now. I hear you now. You
Oh,
dropped out. But
I apologize. It dropped out there. My bad.
you're back.
I wanted to elaborate a little bit on like your comments about pump fun, right? Because I think when you and I were really kind of like coming up in these first Solana spaces, when Solana was going from a $20 coin to a $100 plus coin, that's what really started the craze on Wift and Myro and Bonk and some of these coins where we didn't have a ton of launches. We only had maybe less than 20 projects that you could truly invest in those early stages. And of course, now that some of those projects have and now that Solana has attracted so much liquidity and the cost to swap are so low, it feels like we have seen a lot of congestion in the marketplace with upwards of 10,000 projects that are launching every single day and even more on pump.fun, with the majority of them never even getting to the point where they're over $1 million market cap, or even make it off of the bonding curve. So, I mean, maybe you could kind of speak towards what your thoughts are about pump.fun, and is it something that's good for the meme space, or do you think it's something that's maybe hurting the meme space in the context of spreading the liquidity too thin and taking those away from truly high performing projects?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, it is about volume, isn't it? I feel like in the market that we're in, where we are waiting for the liquidity to come into the system. So right now we have liquidity in the system, but it's just being moved around. The degens are moving it around. Early investors are. I feel at the moment, then yeah, there is money to be made on Pump Fun, but I think only a few people will be able to realize that, because I feel like trading is a skill set, and it's not a skill set that we all have, and it's not a skill set that you can obtain quickly. So of course we can teach ourselves skills, but it takes time. And I think that because Pump Fun is such a recent thing, I think what's happening is that people are seeing it as a kind of way to make some fast X's, but unfortunately that most people are getting rugged, or as you say, the projects aren't making it even to the bonding curve, and even when they do, they're getting jumped on because of course they bought in later than people that were kind of sniping and knew what they were doing. So I think that not being experienced as a trader on Pump Fun ultimately is going to mean that people get wrecked. There is volume that potentially people are rotating out of some of these other projects to go in to try and make some bucks, and I do believe that a lot of the people that are making money on Pump Fun are probably rotating those profits back into their conviction plays ultimately anyway. So it's just all the people that are probably losing money that perhaps would have been in good projects like Dougie, like Doug the Dark, like Super S, like Papatuna, like some of the projects that we see every day on our show. But I think ultimately that money will come back to those projects, because I think people are going to get into the bull run. They're going to go, this is too dangerous. I need to put my money somewhere safe. So I think
Well,
ultimately that's.
it's interesting that you mentioned that this cycle into blue chips, whether you're considering those the blue chips that are the top 10 cryptocurrencies, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, XRP, all those ones, or if you're considering them, blue chip meme coins, right? Like you see with some of the Ponkays and Whiffs, and also Popcat, some of the biggest meme coins out there. And I host a trading group. The trading group, it's a paid trading group, and as part of that group, we educate people on how to trade, how to manage their portfolio, how to have good good distribution, and of course, we're also teaching people how to essentially leverage trade, so that way they can, in essence, create dry powder. But at the end of the day, the biggest goal within that group is to cycle your money into your money into blue chips, because at the end of the day, we've just gone through a 6-month period of consolidation through Bitcoin. And this is something that usually happens post halving. We're getting into, we've had just an amazing October. We're now going into November, and traditionally Q4 and Q1 are some of the best performing months. Like, we are right in the start of what I would consider is typically the parabolic phase of cryptocurrencies. So now is not necessarily the time to try and be cycling. And it really, for the last couple months, it's really been the best time to try and accumulate your blue chips to try and move forward. So maybe coming from an investor side, what kind of projects do you like right now? What kind of meme coins do you like right now? And what separates the good meme coins from the bad meme coins?
I mean, ultimately, we know that the community is everything, right? And it's interesting that other people are now starting to. I mean, we've always known that it's always been about community and the strength of the community and the conviction of the community, which of course we know gets built over time. So it's definitely looking at projects that have been around for at least 3 months. You know, if they've been around for 6 months, then they're going to just get a few more points. If they've been around for a year, as some of these projects are coming up to their 1 year anniversaries, they've been going and they are still going. So looking at that longevity, which a year doesn't seem like a long time IRL in another business, does it? But in a meme project, we know that is actually a long
when
time.
projects live and die in a matter of days.
Yeah. So it's a completely different scale, isn't it, that we're using? So longevity, which, as I say, seems a bit weird saying longevity in that sense, but also looking at the TG, I do like to go and lurk in TGs, and if they are hosting voice chats, even better, because you can listen in and just listen into conversations. And I think ultimately, we're each going to be going and looking for different things, but so obviously everybody wants something new and something different. I'm just picking up on vibes. I want positive energy and positive vibes. We don't want to be going, certainly for me, if I go in and people are not being respected, or come on, we're in memes, so there's a lot of fun in games, silly memes, silly stuff, we all do that. But I think just as long as people are being respectful, courteous to each other, supportive, trying to help, trying to answer, having have fun by all means, but just kind of real people. And so it is a community. I think it is, the narrative is important. The narrative, there are some projects that I do look at and I just think I really don't get it. And I don't think it is, but I don't get it. And I don't like it, maybe, sometimes I've got to kind of feel that. And I think more and more, I'm always interested in the law, right, and the provenance. So I love it when projects will come on and they will say, we've had projects that have been talking about Lord Keck, who was the original deployer of Pepe, and, that kind of thing, the people that are potentially involved, that was this the first hand-drawn Doge, all of these things. There's lots of projects that have got this really interesting provenance. But I think the other thing is, as you guys are doing so well, the animations, animations are, they're essential now. You kind of, the bar keeps getting raised all the time. So, we are looking for projects to be animating. And then what's the quality of the animation like? What is the storytelling? Are they funny? All of these things. Are they picking up on stuff that's going on the timeline? Are they topical? All these things. So definitely, I think it's community first, because you have to have the community. I think also it depends on the way around you do it, because I think, the good projects have probably already started building a community around common interests and shared interests, and before they've even launched, in many cases. So you've already got that hub. And I suppose also having those communities on other platforms, which again I know is something you guys are doing, and I think doing well. So is there a community that's already formed on another platform? So I think those things are going to start to be more powerful now, because of course the normies are going to be coming in and they're going to be looking for projects that they are familiar with, so like Pondcast, like Brett, where they're doing that. So yeah, those are just some of the things I'm looking for. It's not so much about what's on the timeline. I do like it when you see people raiding, obviously that's always been an indicator, but I don't know, I just feel like maybe the actual timeline raid is less effective. I feel like we kind of zone out to that a little bit more. I do try and keep on top of correspondence on the timeline, but sometimes it's, going into a space and seeing about 20 PFPs that are the project PFPs, that's a good thing, So just this sort of definitely really hard working community, good narrative, bit of lore, nice, bit of culture forming.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm not usually one to read down into the comments to look at a lot of the shilling that's happening. And maybe it's just me. From like what I've seen, what makes what makes projects successful and what really attracts buyers, it's about what the project is doing, not necessarily what the shilling is doing. But in a lot of different regards, some shills are good. For instance, one of our shills wasn't one that actually came from our community. It actually came through our main developers and our artists and the main account. And in that context, we responded to a crash comment about what's the sixth infinity stone, and we did a funny meme video about that with Crash that got over 25,000 views and was one of the most widely liked kind of comments and posts on his overall space. But at the end of the day, like, that was content based. That wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily a shill. That wasn't just a comment that gets lost amongst all of the other comments amongst all the other projects. Like you said, like, some of the best projects in the space are the ones that are creating good content. Like, I look at Flog, which is one of the very few pump.fun coins that's been successful. They have great artistry, great content. Ponke just gifted us this absolutely amazing video of J-Pow in place of Michael Myers sitting outside the window threateningly. And I thought that video was absolutely hilarious. And that video seemed to spring them from a $40 million market cap to a $50 million market cap, which is basically essentially like saying you just created a video that attracted $100 million worth of market cap. I mean, that's pretty amazing stuff right there. So at the end of the day, I think I realized that content is very big. And one of the biggest reasons that always attracted me to Doug the Duck is because they've got 2 artists on staff and the content has always been grade A.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I think that as we get into this, more into this bull cycle, I think people are, we've already all got those lists of those projects. I mean, my watch list gets bigger by the day because there's so many good projects. But, I think that the content, I mean, that expression content is king. I think that is so true. And I think when you have good animations and you have these funny narratives that are bringing in all of the kind of stuff that we know about what's going on in the space. Actually, I thought what was interesting about Ponky was that some of their content, that you've got it right when all of the other projects are using your content and putting their heads on, Ponky.
Their
and
spin on it.
Yeah, they're putting their spin on it. And I just think that is, that is the measure, isn't it? And that's the standard at the end of the day.
Well,
So
that's the important part, right? Original content,
yeah.
creating original content, not creating copy content, which is easy, especially in today's AI world.
Yeah, absolutely. Original content, And so there are some very good, I mean, I'm working with a project at the moment, which is the Meme of Thrones project. And I have to say, and I want to give them a shout out because if that's okay, because, they are some fantastic content, which is original. It's all hand-drawn animations and the scripts and everything's done in-house. And they are a low market cap project, but they are really starting to get some interest. And it is, I think, because the animations are hilarious. I think as soon as they get noticed, I think they're going to really blow up because it's just fun to watch, and it's clever, and that I like that.
Well, that's amazing. So you're working with that project, and I know previously you were also working with another project, which I think was called Big, which was a little bit of a play on a character that was kind of supposed to be godly. Maybe I said that name incorrect. I know that that's probably where the halo came, switching into the devil, the devil horns
Yeah.
as well. But and is that the project you said was planning on a relaunch soon?
Yeah, so there's a project called The Big Guy. And again, I mean, they had a really amazing, they do have an amazing artist who is a lady called Fintist, who developed a sold out NFT collection in the last cycle. And her artwork is really strong. I mean, what happened was, I mean, I won't go into it in too much detail, but they are looking to relaunch. They were on Base and they've made the decision to relaunch on Ethereum. But we're kind of waiting. Yeah, exactly. That's a couple of things that we're just kind of waiting on at the moment. But it's just kind of, that was one of the first projects. And actually, I'd met the dev and the project manager of that project in a previous project that I was supporting, which was called Spoody, which ended up being, well, there were some nefarious happenings on that project, shall we say? But it was a CTO in the end. And so I've actually started supporting them as a CTO again, because I really like the art. I mean, that's just as a holder, because I bought back into that project. And then I'm also working with a project called CTO, which actually stands for Chief Troll Officer, and it's actually a parody of when Elon said, I am the Chief Troll Officer, and what they've done is they've taken a really well-known troll character, and they are creating some really good content. And so I'm working with them. There's actually quite a lot of us are involved in that project. I mean, I mentioned that some of the Spaces hosts that we all were kind of together. I would say probably most of the people that I was doing those Spaces with are involved with the team. So that, I think, is always bullish for me when you have good people supporting projects. Soka's involved in that one actually as well.
Got it. So CTO needs to be on my radar, is what you're saying.
I would say that CTO on ETH is definitely one to have on your radar. I do know the team; they are very well connected. They've done it before, so they have a history. And you know what it's like on ETH. I mean, it's going to be a completely different cook to what we're seeing on Solana. But I would say that I was thinking this the other day, and sorry to go off on a tangent again, but what if? Because we all have bags of projects that we're kind of just holding on to, and we know that we're going into this crazy period. But what if I'm already holding the winning lottery ticket in my portfolio? What if I literally could put my phone down and do nothing for the next
That's
12
hard
months?
for a lot of people.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Well, I mean, if you're, well, they say the best investors are the ones that are dead, right? Because they don't know how to sell.
Exactly that. But I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, to think of it, because a lot of us are gonna, I don't want to use the words F, I don't want to swear on your podcast, but a lot of us are gonna mess ourselves up.
We're gonna fud our bags, and we're gonna throw away generational wealth. And
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of contexts, I sold Myro on the way up to $400 million market cap. I could have made a lot of money there. I mean, I used to have 1 billion bonk tokens that's worth well over $30,000-$40,000 right now, and I probably only have a quarter of that now. And in a lot of different ways, I do understand that for the people that are thinking everything is going to go to $1 billion, it's just not true. At the end of the day, you won't go broke taking profits. And you hear these stories about people making round trips, of multi-million dollars, right? I mean, it's a guarantee. More people are going to do that this cycle because they aren't taking profits. And the necessity of it is taking profits is a necessary thing that needs to happen. If everybody that's investing is in here to essentially make money. At the end of the day, nothing that I say or you say is financial advice. And Doug is just a meme coin, right? There is no guarantee of financial return. But when you do see a financial return and you are lucky enough to have that across the project, like for you, what establishes a time where you do take profits? Because it's hard to time market tops.
Yeah. No, absolutely that. And I think it's really important to remind people, as you say, no one went broke taking profits. Just take profits when you can, and take what you need. I think this is why finding those projects that you do want to be your conviction plays for the cycle as well, because we know that some of these projects, like you said, not all projects are going to go to 1 billion, but some will, and there will be some lower market cap projects that are around now that will do some big X's, and it's just finding those early, finding them now, because we are still early, but just being prepared to hold. And I think that will be the hard bit. But again, setting targets. I mean, I've been sitting down making a plan actually this week. I've been using this week to really kind of get my wallets in order, work out my colds. I mean, I've got cold storage, it's like, okay, what do I want to go on there? What do I definitely know is going to be held? And so it is just, taking profits, getting organized with everything, and sitting tight and being patient, which is probably the worst thing and the hardest thing for most of us. But of course I wouldn't be able to put my phone down for 12 months because
Well, I did want to mention something that you said specifically that I'd love for our viewers to hear, is that you're making a plan. And most investors, they don't make a plan. And the best investors are literally the ones that plan their trade and trade their plan. So in a lot of different contexts for those listeners out there today, do what UKCrypto Queen is doing and look across your portfolio. look at your distribution. You want to have clean distribution. You don't want your entire portfolio to be in just one necessary meme coin, unless it's maybe just Doug the Duck, but no, not financial advice. But in a lot of different contexts, like out of my portfolio, 5 to 10% of it's Bitcoin, 5 to 10% of it is Solana based. 15% of it is on the Sui chain. 5% is on Ton chain, 5% is on Base chain. I've got Spot Ethereum, I've got Spot Link. I have a very clean distribution. I would probably say Solana meme coins probably make up about 25-30% of my portfolio because they have, statistically been the best gainers of this cycle so far, but that can change in an instant. Like you said, Ethereum is going to be a different cook. The Ethereum inflows haven't started, but once we start seeing all-time highs on Bitcoin, there is going to eventually be a distribution back into altcoins, and we haven't seen that yet, but for all we know, that could be a matter of days or weeks away. And for that matter, we're 4 days out from the US election. And Donald Trump is a president that has been very pro crypto. And at least in the context of Kamala Harris, she has been open to hearing more things about cryptocurrency and has not necessarily been anti crypto, although they have essentially let their SEC and some of their other government agencies essentially roam free uncontested, which I think is purposefully created buying opportunities for the Black Rocks of the world. But how do you feel going into this crypto election? And in addition to that, we've got FOMC meeting right afterwards where we're potentially seeing rate cuts. So for all we know, this next 5 days could really be the explosion of Bitcoin starting to go into all-time high scenario and maybe even approaching that 100,000 figure. How do you feel about the elections coming up?
Well, it's interesting because I know that you are a macro guy yourself, and I know that you do, keep a close eye on, like you were saying, the inflows and all of that kind of stuff that's going on with the global liquidity. And I've listened and I've heard you talk about that before. I had a guest, and actually I am going to pin it on my X profile because I had a guest come and join me yesterday morning, a guy called Frankie J, and I just started following him on the timeline. I was like, this guy is really talking some interesting stuff. So we had him as a guest on the Jake Show yesterday, and what he was saying, and I tend to kind of, having followed some of the people that he was talking about, like Raoul Paul and some of the kind of people that look at markets and liquidity, what he was saying is it really doesn't make any difference who wins the election, which is interesting because I think that, we all know that if Trump wins, because he's so pro crypto, that it's going to go crazy. But what Frankie was saying, and I say if anybody wants to listen to that, it was a really interesting presentation that he put together. But if Kamala wins, then the everything is still going to go crazy. It's just that the timeline may change. And what he was saying is that we're coming up to the time when a lot of the all of the financial institutions and all of the big banks and all of the the liquidity holders essentially are going to have to refinance, and so he was talking about that. He was talking about Janet Yellen having already started quantitative easing, and that will ramp up the inflows, and the things that are going on, almost like saying, well, okay, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. But he was saying that some things just do happen on a cycle, and that we are due the cycle. All of the factors are there, all of the catalysts are ready and lined up, and either way we're headed into it. It's just a matter of when, it's not a matter of if. So I'm a permable anyway, so I'm always like, yeah, it's all gonna happen. But I definitely my spidey senses are definitely tingling at this point. And yeah, excited for what's going to come on Tuesday for the elections. I mean, I'm not even in the US, but I'm following it so closely. And I mean, it's like it literally is like a soap opera at this point, isn't it?
I can't wait for the elections to be done. That's just me personally. I'm over
Yeah.
the hate from the blue to the
Oh,
red. Being a
yeah.
US citizen myself, it's poisonous.
I mean, it must be very hard for you as a US citizen because this is real. You know, it's very easy for the rest of us to kind of be sitting back, over the other side of the pond,
Watching
watching
the
everything.
dumpster fire.
Yeah, and that's really what it feels like. But hey, listen, we have had our own dumpster fire over in the UK. We've had quite a few recently. So I feel like, we are a global family. And at the end of the day, we all just want peace ultimately. Although maybe some people don't. I don't know. But it just feels like, as you say, I mean, it's probably going to get worse. But I do think, and I have tweeted this on my profile on my timeline as well. If I could vote, I would be voting for Trump. Of course, I would, because I do, having followed it and having listened to him, I do think he has some interesting policies, and I think ultimately, something's got to give, hasn't it?
Well, in the context of the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're US based, whether you're British based, European based, Democrat, Republican, Green Party, at the end of the day, every single person in this life wants financial freedom. And in a lot of different contexts, what governments do with their dollars and their currencies is directly painful for the people that have to use those currencies. So it make no mistake, that's why BlackRock and all of these other institutions are buying up Bitcoin in mass, because I think just about everybody across the world sees what the US is doing, considering they're printing upwards of $2 trillion every single year in fiat money. And, it's pretty tough to trust their inflation numbers that are going on right now. Not sure if you saw this, UK Crypto Queen, but did you recognize that in Tuesday, Wednesday of this last week, we saw the highest inflows for Bitcoin that we have ever seen? $800 million on Tuesday and $900 million on Wednesday. That
I
is just insane.
That is phenomenal.
I mean, we are right at the cusp of a bull cycle, and I really feel like this week is going to be the catalyst that absolutely sends it, um, you know, absolutely parabolic. So, like you said, the time to be accumulating your blue chips, the time to be accumulating great projects has really just been in this last month or two, and that window is closing. And
Yeah.
we're right about to go into that phase where it seems like you just can't pick a bad project. Um, so, I mean, it really is an exciting week, and it's been obviously very exciting having you on there before this huge paramount week that is coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really excited to look into I mean, this project is on my radar, right? You guys have been on my radar anyway, and I'm not a holder yet, but you're on my watch list, and definitely would be very interested to hear a little bit more about what you guys are up to.
Have you been sniffing out our TG? I know the biggest indicator is you like to pop in, check out the TG and see how the community is rolling. Are you a community
Well,
member?
I am not a community member yet, although I may have done. I have so many TGs on my list at this point. So I need if I'm not in there, I definitely will come and check it out.
Of course. Well, the crazy thing is I was coming up on spaces, a lot of your guys' crypto spaces, just a matter of, pretty consistently for the last couple months. And, Doug the Duck was trading sideways for a considerable amount of time. I'll do a little share screen here right now. Um, Bear with me. So that way I can kind of, let's see if this works. Yep. So I'm doing a little share screen right now, so that way I can kind of show Doug the Duck where we've essentially come from and everything as well. But there was a period of probably about 5 to 6 months where the rest of the market was bleeding and consolidating, that we were trading right around that $1 million market cap. And I think you probably heard of us a lot during that time period. And we really established this beautiful floor of about $1 million market cap after getting to an all-time high of about 6.4 million. And when we reached that $6.4 million market cap and started to have some resistance and stuff, we saw that resistance right around $4 million market cap. And actually, just this last week, we hit $4 million market cap and started to see a little bit of a minor retracement. But the word is really getting out there about Doug the Duck right now. And you can see just how beautiful our chart looks. We're trading up in this nice little channel. We see resistance here like we've kind of seen before. and within a technical trading aspect, we also had this downtrend line right here. So we basically rejected at 4 million, supported here at this previous resistance line, now turned support. So I like to turn these green afterwards. And I really see us going back into retesting that all-time high scenario before potentially maybe flipping this $4 million range as support. So I still think, I mean, we're still below our all-time high by a factor of about 50%. So in my opinion, I still really think that Doug the Duck is a great project to potentially invest in the community. Like I said, there's no guarantee of financial return on any of these meme coin projects, but the reason that I am sticking with Doug the Duck and why I'm so proud to be a speaker for the developers and a speaker for the project is because of everything that they're working on right now. Right now, like you said, there's going to be a lot of normies that are coming into this space, and they're not going to necessarily know that crypto Twitter is the best place to find prospective projects. Last cycle, the best place to find prospective projects was essentially YouTube. And now, we've got different social medias that have blown up, TikTok, Instagram, etc. So really, Doug the Duck is working on all social media platforms to get the word out there, because we understand from a marketing context, and this as well, it takes upwards of seeing something 10 times before they buy. I mean, I like to think that you've probably seen us 10 times, and hopefully after this space here today, maybe that's your 11th time where you say, you know what, maybe I will give this a little bit of a sniff.
Well, you know what, you're so right. And also, I think what happens is because we spend all our days in crypto on CryptoX and in spaces, there is a part of it. I was listening to somebody talking the other day, and I didn't kind of engage with what he was saying until he'd been speaking for about 4 minutes. And this wasn't on one of our joke spaces, this was on another space. And then I suddenly realized this guy was just, wow, what is this guy talking about? And it was just yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Really from the social media aspect, you talked about how like we're one of the ones that are getting out there on multiple social medias. We've got 50,000 followers on TikTok, over 25,000 followers on Instagram. We are at, I want to say, closing in on 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. And we've got just under, we're closing in on 6,000 crypto Twitter followers, and I think we're well over 7,000 people in the actual Telegram. So our social medias are absolutely huge. They're absolutely all organic. It's really amazing stuff to have so many people supporting the project and stuff and being involved in the project. And if you jump into our Telegram, you'll see how bullish everybody is and how lively the community is. And it's to have seen that firsthand for the last 4 to 5 months is what's really made me bullish on the project, is to see once again how the community has really handled a lot of different adversity, all the way down to the fact of when we lost our main account, which contributed to me losing my primary Easy Zabo Twitter account, which I've still to this day not been able to get my hands on, unfortunately. Which is why you haven't really necessarily been seeing my main handle in the crypto space as much.
Well, no, but it's so funny because I knew that we'd connected and I knew that we'd had a few DMs back and forth because we'd connected in the Miro spaces. And I used to love listening to your analysis and your market. And again, I would be mesmerized by your content. And I really do want to give you your flowers for that because you do know your stuff. And I think when we do think about projects that we want to go to, I think for most of us that have been around for any length of time, it is about the people. Because when I see you and when I see Keith and when I see some of these people that I have admired and really respect in the space, and then you are talking about these projects, I then think, well, I need to, I mean, again, don't ever follow anyone blindly, guys, always do your own research, but it is definitely something that you then want to pay attention to. But having said that, we are still really, really busy. So it is that, that we have to see something, we have to have it in our face, and then we suddenly go, oh, okay, I really need to seriously look at this now. So definitely, I'm going to come and check out your TG.
Oh, we would love that. We've right now, we're absolutely on an amazing run. We're up over 300% from our floor, and we're really close to closing in on YouTube monetization. So every week, or every other week rather, we have a custom comic book series. And I urge you to go take a look at that. Take a look at our website. On our website, we've got an upgraded website. We've got multiple tabs. It's probably one of the better crypto websites that you're going to see out there. We've got all of our comic book series, as well as we follow those comic book series up with a short video. I got cut off there. But we follow up all of these comic book series with a short YouTube video, and we've been posting all those YouTube videos on, or we've been posting all of those videos on all of our different sites, including our YouTube, as well as Twitter, Telegram, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of those YouTube videos have gotten well over 200,000 views. So we are very quickly actually approaching YouTube monetization. And based on our subscriber count and the amount of hours that we're attracting, we could potentially be seeing anywhere in the range of $10,000 to $20,000 worth of monthly income coming in to support the project.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Now, I'm definitely going to go and check out your socials. And of course, I'm going to be part of that now. So I will be definitely promoting this to my followers and mentioning it every given opportunity to get people to tune in and listen. Because I mean, so far you've had some really, really interesting guests on here. So I'm delighted to be part of that.
Somebody said this earlier in the space too. You are our first female speaker here on the Pondcast. So we're super excited. I know me personally, I'm super excited to be hosting you as our first female speaker, especially because there's not a ton of female speakers in the space. There really only are probably, I mean, you could count the amount of good, influencers or female influencers in the space on both hands. And you are definitely in that conversation. Top 10, top 5 in my eyes.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it. I mean, I'm learning from you guys. I'm learning all the time. I think having an inquisitive mind, just knowing that it doesn't matter when you start, and then once that, you and I both know it is about that passion that just gets ignited. It's like a flame that won't go out, and you just get hungrier for more. So yeah, really, really thrilled to have been asked to come and have this conversation with you.
Well, I will. I'll follow this up. Other than the podcast, which we either do on Thursday or Friday of next week, we also do a Tuesday game night that is live on YouTube. So that's another thing for you to check us out on. We also have a PFP generator that we released last week that allows you to create a custom Doug PFP if you so choose. Although I know you're going to keep your normal one as well. A lot of that's for our different viewers and stuff. And ultimately, we've been really working hard to create new campaigns on social media. And we've actually been reaching out to a lot of other projects that we like and influencers that we like, not only for the purpose of getting them here on the podcast, but to create partnerships and to continue to build our outreach for our community. So we're nearing towards the latter half of an hour. So we're kind of looking to close up the space here right now. But I saw a comment coming in from one of the speakers on the chat about what you think about Doug's potential and maybe potentially what number you think it could reach. Do you want to give us a little sign off for what you think your thoughts are about the future of Doug, and maybe even give us some advice about what we're doing right and maybe, what we could improve on?
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm never going to talk about figures and numbers because you know what? Sometimes people say you're not bullish enough, my friend. None of us knows how much volume and how much liquidity is coming in. And what I don't want to do is give people, apart from the fact that I need to have a closer look at the chart anyway, but I don't want to give people a limit because listen, we don't know where this could go, right? But what we do know is liquidity is coming into the marketplace. new people that are coming in to invest in memes are going to be finding their way into your communities, into the spaces that you guys are hosting, looking you up on YouTube, looking up on other platforms. And it's the projects that are, as we've already said, creating original content, showing up every day, putting out that content, building community, surviving through red days, which I don't think we're going to have too many more of, as we go into the next couple of weeks. But it is that fierce, not going to give up. We're going to keep going. We're going to hold. I mean, take profits, but also, make sure that you are holding as well, because of course, you're not going to hit those big numbers unless some people are still holding or reinvesting. So, it's just a delicate balance. But I think that you're doing everything right, because I keep seeing this project. It refuses to kind of go quietly. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because it sounds like you have an amazing team. So yeah, very, very optimistic. I'm going to check this out a little bit more closely. Definitely going to get into your TG and check out the vibes. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll jump in VC, guys. If anybody's listening and you want to jump in the VC at some point, maybe I'll be in there asking questions and checking you out.
Well, we do really appreciate having you here on the space here today, UK Crypto Queen. It's been an absolute treat. And we're super excited to potentially have you engaging with our community in the next week or so.
Amazing. Do you know what? The only thing that was missing from this was I kept wanting to post emojis, but I couldn't. When you're just so used to throwing up the hearts, and we were missing that. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you, Gabo.
Awesome. Well, we're still working through some of the different factors of StreamYard and stuff. And, obviously it gives us the ability to stream to all of our platforms. Today we're streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, as well as Instagram for these spaces and stuff. So, the outreach has been absolutely great. A lot of these spaces have been attracting, upwards of 400 to 500 viewers live. So, like I said, if you're not following UK Crypto Queen, check out her at UK Crypto Queen on Twitter. She does, daily meme coin spaces. Her most prominent one is at, I want to say, 12 p.m. UTC every single morning on the Jake Gaggane platform with JSP, who we, of course, hope to get maybe here on one of our future podcasts as well. And take a look out for her, as she is definitely one of the best up-and-coming influencers and entrepreneurs, as we've come to find out today here in the crypto space. So it's been a pleasure, UK Crypto Queen. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you on the timeline, guys, and see you in the VC. Take care.
So we'll sign this off. And thanks for coming out and listening to our podcast today, you mother duckers.
Hey, are you ready for our bullish talk show? We got guests for days, all queuing in a row. The biggest names in the DeFi space. Black, white and yellow, guests from every race. So hands off your dick, cause now you're in love. We're talking crypto daily with a big pump duck. Big duck energy, let's make banks fast. Come chill with us here on the Pondcast.